This is the Amazing Education Podcast. Powered by the Ames Community School District, I'm your host, Eric Smith. On today's episode, we are joined by Ames High junior Jason Vernon. We're going to have an amazing conversation about his love of bees, beekeeping, hives, and harvesting honey. Jason Vernon, thanks for being on this episode of the Amazing Education Podcast.
Thank you for having me.
I am super excited to talk about this. We're going to talk about bees.
Yes.
The entire episode.
Good.
And, I told you this before we started recording. Sometimes I develop guiding questions, and I wasn't quite sure where to go with this. So I have a feeling, though, just talking with you before, we hit record, we're going to fill up this time really quickly.
Good.
So you are involved in the Ames High Bee Club along with the Central Iowa Bee Association. Tell me how you got into bees.
Okay, so about a year ago, a little over a year ago now, the Bee Club was getting their beehives for the first time. So my best friend Ellie was involved with the Bee Club, and she made me come and help with the beehives, and I fell in love immediately with bees because it's so magical, like just being at a beehive and hearing the buzzing and them swarming around you. It's just such a great experience. I'm like, I never want this feeling to end. So then I just kept coming back to the hives and getting more and more involved. And then in December, an opportunity came up to apply to be the Central Iowa Beekeepers Association honey ambassador.
Okay.
And with this position, you go around to different community events, and this morning I went to a preschool in Huxley.
Oh yeah.
And just share your love of bees and honey and talk about beekeeping and different opportunities and things. And also work at the state fair in the summer.
Okay.
At the honey booth.
All right.
And so I knew I had to get involved because I love to talk about bees. And I want everybody to love bees just as much as I do.
So let's talk about what the Bee Club at Ames High is doing. Now, you're going to have to help me with terminology as we go through this, but I know that just not far from Ames High, you have bees.
Yep.
And so what are we doing with these?
So just a block away from the high school, we have 3 beehives. And with these hives, we're collecting honey. We're learning how to be beekeepers. Overall, it's a really great experience because we're really kind of doing it all on our own. We have a mentor from CEBA, which is the Central Iowa Beekeepers Association, who's really been helping us, but a lot of it we're doing on our own. We're doing different things in the hives. We're just last week we were rearranging the boxes because the queen lays eggs from the bottom to the top. So she already made it to the top, so we had to put her back at the bottom because bees never move down. Bees only move upwards.
What do you mean you had to put her back in the bottom?
Okay,
what does that mean?
So we have 3 or 4 different boxes of bees in each hive.
Yep.
And we stack them on top of each other.
Okay.
And so every spring or whenever, you move the top box to the bottom because the top box doesn't get us full of honey and brood and things.
Yep.
And we also were selling our brood, which is the larva eggs, the drones that the queen lays that we don't need because we have too many bees in the hive. So it's a little complicated.
No, I get it. How many bees are we talking about here? In these, so you said there's 4 boxes?
Yeah.
So how many bees are we talking about?
In a smaller hive, you have 10,000, but the biggest is 60,000. So our hives probably have around 30 or 40,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
it's a lot of bees.
So what do people get like get wrong about bees? So I'll take, as a homeowner, if 30,000 bees like in my backyard does not seem like a pleasant experience. So what am I getting wrong about this? I know.
Right. I think it's a very pleasant experience because it's not only is it magical with the sound, but also
is it loud?
It is loud.
Okay.
You go like 5 feet away from the hives, you can hear the buzz, especially on a nice day outside. If you go to the backyard, there's hundreds of bees just flying around. You can't stand out there too long without having a bee like crawl up your pants. But it's okay because as long as you're not hurting the bees, they won't hurt you.
Okay.
Because stinging is the last resort.
Yeah.
And also, the more bees you have, the more flowers you'll have in your yard.
Okay.
Because they do obviously pollinate the flowers, and the people that backyard we keep the bees in, they've had bees in the past, but for a while they didn't have any. And as soon as we came back, they said they automatically noticed a huge difference with their plants because it's just so much more pollination means so much more natural flowers and things.
Yeah. So I have a cousin, and I told you about this. He lives down in Winterset, and so they grow pumpkins.
Right.
And each year they bring in tons of bees. I don't know how many bees, but they bring in.
I guarantee you, it's like hundreds, thousands.
Yeah, probably. But you had a story also that they were sending bees to California. So from Iowa, sending them to California.
Yes. So there's a beekeeping farm essentially in Iowa, about probably half an hour away from Ames, that has tons and tons of beehives.
Yeah.
And every year during the winter, they put them all in a truck and send them to the almond farms in California. Because in Iowa, the bees, during the winter, they can't go out and get pollen because there's no pollen in the winter.
Right.
And they'll freeze. So in California, you don't have that problem. So the bees can be active all year in California and help pollinate the almond farms.
Yeah. But in Iowa, so now we're in May,
right.
We're in season for bees.
Yes.
They're working hard.
This is prime time for beekeeping because you have so many flowers.
Yeah.
Bees' first food actually is the dandelions. So the number one way to help bees is to keep your dandelions alive and don't spray them or cut them too fast.
Well, I do have dandelions in my yard.
You're saving the bees.
That is going to be my go-to from now on because I've actually, actively considered. I was like, all right, I should probably get rid of these. And now I'm hearing I shouldn't get rid of them.
No, it's the first food in the winter because what are the first flowers you see in the spring?
Yeah.
Dandelions.
Well, our kids do think that they're flowers, although everyone else thinks they're weeds.
But they're full of pollen. So it's great for the bees.
All right.
Because the bees need pollen to stay alive.
So with beekeeping, what's happening? So the snow's melting.
Right.
We're getting rid of the ice. Now we're in May. Flowers are starting to bloom. So what are the bees doing, and then what are they doing through season? Because you said in the winter they just essentially hibernate.
Right. So in the winter they just cluster together.
Okay.
And kind of buzz around and flap their wings to keep warm. You rub your hands together. Yeah. That's basically what the bees are doing in the hive. But now they can go out, get pollen, get nectar, come back to the hive, feed the eggs, feed the larvae. Mm-hmm. The queen is laying eggs, thousands of eggs a day.
This is crazy.
Yeah. And also, in the winter, they get rid of all the drones because they don't need them because the drone's main job is to go out of the hive.
Okay.
And in the winter, you're staying in the hive. So they get rid of all the drones. So right now, they have to be making more drones. So the queen's the only one that's laying eggs.
Yeah.
She's laying drones to go out, obviously, and get the pollen.
Yeah.
But inside the hive, they're making honey, feeding each other, and staying alive.
So is there a lot of as a beekeeper, as they're working right now in May and through the summer, and then eventually we get into the fall, is there really a lot of maintenance involved?
Beekeeping is a relatively hands-off hobby.
Okay.
Or some people make it their job.
Yeah.
For the bee club, we don't do a lot of things that like a professional beekeeper would do because it's not our full-time occupation.
Correct, yes.
As for maintenance, we're, like I talked about, like rearranging the hives, just making sure everything is going good in the hives, and also making a little bit of a profit by selling our extra brood, which is like the eggs.
What do you do with that?
We're selling it to a local beekeeper, buying it from us and then starting his own.
Oh.
Well, he has plenty of hives, but he's taking them to his own hives and the arboretum and different things.
What is it, like a starter hive, essentially?
It's more to... So a starter hive actually comes in the mail. It's like a few pounds of bees.
Okay.
In a little box.
What do you mean in the mail? Are they they
you
alive?
you can
Okay.
You can go pick it up, or you can have it delivered to you. You can get like 5 pounds of bees in a box with like 4 walls and then chicken wire, essentially, like very small holes, obviously, so the bees don't escape. And a queen. You need a queen to start your hive.
Okay.
And so what we're selling is the brood, which doesn't have the queen in it. It's just like eggs and larvae to help with smaller hives, essentially.
Okay. All right. So you're selling some of that off, and then where does like the honey come into play?
Right.
And how does that work?
So bees are always making honey.
Yeah.
But we don't harvest it until August because it's also their food. So if we take it all during these earlier spring months when they're still trying to get back on their feet from winter, or if we take it too late in the fall, then they have nothing to eat over the winter.
Yeah.
So August, early September is like the perfect time to harvest it because then they have enough time to make it for the winter, and they don't need, because after all of summer making honey, they don't need all the honey they've made.
Right. So I've been to it was a honey store.
Yes.
And I'll tell you this, I didn't really know what I was getting myself into. I mean, we went there, we wanted to buy some honey, and then we just got a complete education from the person working there.
That's so cool.
It was an amazing experience. It really was. And it was up in Minnesota, and I would go there every time we would be in that region, just not only to buy the honey, but like they do, the whole sample, and we were getting educated about how this honey was from this region because that region has different plants.
You know a lot about honey. This is great. Yeah, so like every region, like you said, has different tasting honey. Like Hawaii's is very, very sweet.
Okay.
Because they have so many
of course it is.
tropical plants full of nectar, like very sweet nectar. Iowa's is more of a mild, like rounder taste of honey. Personally, my favorite is from Iowa.
Okay.
I don't know if that's just because I'm most used to it, but just because it's like the chillest honey, I think.
I mean, and they had other honey, and maybe they did something, through the process of harvesting this, about how some of it was like really smooth, and some of it was, I don't want to use the word chunky, but it was kind of grittier.
Okay, that could be like how much they've like purified it, or they boil out the like wax and other things, or it could be based on like the different plants that the bees have been eating. So a lot of bee farms will plant like specific flowers near their different beehives to get like a different taste in honey. It's very interesting.
So when you're harvesting this honey, like, are you suiting up? Like, what's this process look like?
Right. So to harvest the honey, you take the frame. So it will be capped, essentially.
Okay.
So So that's when you know they're done with it. Is it'll be capped honeycomb, so you won't see individual like hexagons. It'll just be like flat. And then you take a hot knife, scrape it along the side of the honey, have it in a bucket,
Yep.
and then go from there. Suiting up, I mean, you're at a beehive,
Yeah.
so yeah, you're suiting up.
Have you, like, do you get stung? Like if you're just like, there, not really, not
Right.
doing harvesting the honey, but like you're there. I understand like they only attack. That's a last resort.
It's
But
last
there's also
resort.
like 30,000 bees.
I have been stung only twice.
Okay.
But it was always my fault.
Yeah.
Right, so the first time I was stung, I wasn't wearing the bee suit.
Right.
And you can go to a beehive without wearing your bee suit as long as you, like, tuck your pants into your shoes, tuck
Yeah.
in your shirt, have long sleeves,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. Well, I forgot to tuck in my shirt. So the bee crawled up my shirt, and
Yeah.
I put my arm down, and it stung me in the stomach.
Okay.
And that hurt.
Yeah.
And then the second time I was stung, I was in my proper suit the whole time, working in the hive. And then we were leaving. I took my suit off. I picked up a box, and there was a bee on it.
Oh, okay.
And right where I picked it up, it stung me in the finger
Yeah.
because I didn't see the bee when I put my hand down.
Yeah.
But why did I feel bad when a bee stung me? I'm like, oh, I killed a bee.
Yeah. No, I get it. So with the harvesting of the honey, so you're suited up, you're scraping it. You said that particular tray was done. Did the bees just move up to the next tray and they're working on that? Because essentially, like they're continuing to make honey.
Right, they're always making honey. They're always filling the honeycomb and capping it off and then moving on, filling more. And that's their job. That's the bees. They're always working. They're always doing something in the hive.
That is so cool.
It is.
And so then what do you take with the what do you do with the honey? Is that for the bee club then?
So yeah, we do a honey fundraiser.
Okay.
I think this year we're going to the farmer's market
Nice.
and selling the honey this summer.
That'll be fun.
We also, in the past, before we had bees, different like local bee farms would like donate their honey to us, so then we could sell that and raise money that way.
Yeah.
But now we have our own hives and we have our own honey. So I think last August we got like a few pounds of honey.
It feels like a lot. Is that a lot?
It's quite a lot.
Yeah.
But it's on the low end.
Sure.
Because we left a lot of it because our hives are relatively young.
Yeah.
So we left a lot of it so that they would stay strong over the winter because obviously that's their food too. But yeah, that's a lot of honey.
So you had an interesting experience. So this was as, honey ambassador of the
Right.
Central Iowa Bee Association. You were actually on live with Kelly and Ryan to
Yeah.
talk about bees.
Right.
So tell me, how did this happen?
It was kind of crazy. Basically, we were joking around. It's always been on my bucket list. The top of my bucket list is be on live with Kelly and Ryan. Like, once in my life. I did not know it would happen this fast. Like, I've always watched their show. And,
Yeah.
And so we were joking around one day with my family, and my mom found a way to sign us up to, like, basically apply to be on the show. Because
Okay.
they need families to interview, especially right now. They're doing a lot of virtual things. So we applied in, like, December. Right after I had gotten the Central Iowa Beekeepers Association ambassador role. We applied. We said, we love your show. We've really enjoyed watching it, especially during quarantine. You've helped us a lot. Here's what we all do. Jason's really involved with beekeeping.
Yep.
I guess they saw that and got super excited. And then they called us, like, so this was February 2nd was when we actually went on. I think they probably called us the Saturday before.
Okay.
So there's like 4 days we had before we were on the show.
Yeah.
It was very nerve-wracking. They called us that morning. I woke up. My mom said, someone called and was asking to talk to you. I'm like, who? She's like, oh, a producer from Kelly and Ryan. I was like, oh, I don't want to talk to them. I don't want him. Nope. Because that's terrifying.
Sure.
But
you have to do it,
You have to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's been my dream.
Yeah. They
forever.
call.
They call.
You do it.
You answer. So I did a little more research on bees that morning.
Yeah.
Gave them a call. They said, hey, we're really excited. We want to have you on Tuesday. I didn't know. I was very nervous.
Was this all like via Zoom then?
This was over the phone. They said we'll do a Skype test on Sunday.
Okay.
Then they started texting me different information, and we were going back and forth for a while, like talking about what we were going to talk about on that day. And they sent me kind of like a list of possible questions they would ask, kind of like you did for this interview. And then Tuesday we woke up in the morning. I think we had to join the call at like 6:30 or something.
Yeah.
Maybe 7. And we sat there on the Skype. They did another camera test, had us all situated. The director talked to us a little bit. Then we got to watch the show over Skype.
Yeah.
An hour early because they film it live in New York.
That's right.
But obviously that's not live here for us. We watched the whole show. And then it was really crazy, actually, because they were talking about us. They were like, next we'll have At Home with the Vernon Family. And that was surreal.
Yeah.
Because Kelly Ripa was saying my name. She was very excited.
I don't doubt it.
No, she was very excited to talk to a beekeeper. If you watch the episode, like right in the intro, she's like, oh, you're kidding. A beekeeper's here to talk to us? I'm like, are you kidding?
So good.
You're here to talk to us? Like, that's crazy for me.
Yeah.
Why are you excited? That was very weird. And then commercial happens. We have to watch the commercial. It's very interesting. All of a sudden, the music's playing. We're watching them. They say, okay, hi, Vernon family. How are you? It was surreal.
Now, did you have the experience where you kind of go into autopilot a little bit?
Oh, I fully blacked out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
don't remember it at all.
So, did you rewatch it then?
We did, because then...
Oh, yeah, because it's on an hour later.
Right. So then right after we went and watched it, I was like, how is that me on the TV talking to Ryan Seacrest? At one point, Kelly Ripa turns to Ryan and says, it's your long-lost son. That's mind-blowing. Like, that is... I still don't honestly believe that's real.
That's pretty cool.
I don't think I'll ever believe that's real.
Oh, it's cool. So did they ask any... I mean, like, what kind of questions did they ask? I mean, just...
I asked similar questions to you, and then also they wanted to talk about culinary.
So I'm like Ryan Seacrest.
You are kind of like Ryan Seacrest.
And then what else?
And then they wanted to know, like, culinary uses for honey, because I think they were doing, like, kind of like a cooking segment.
Oh, sure.
And so I talked about my favorite honey snack, which is honey on grilled cheese.
Okay.
It's
all right.
So phenomenal.
Well, you put it on the inside?
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to do this.
You have to.
I mean, I have 8-year-old kids. I mean,
they'll love it.
I love making grilled cheese.
No, same.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just brings it up a notch.
We just had grilled cheese this past weekend.
Well, you should have put honey on it.
It's
great because it's obviously like the savory grilled cheese and the sweet honey. It's
consider
beautiful.
this done.
Good.
Our son, every time, you know, we have pizza in our house, you know, because of Great Plains.
Right. It's the same
honey.
idea.
You got to have
same
honey.
Same idea. Yeah.
Oh, well.
Well, I'm
going to blow their mind.
Yeah, you should. I do a little fancy grilled cheese with like Gouda and like.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But I think it'd be good with anything.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
It is. And Ryan Seacrest thought so too.
Okay.
And actually, that's the craziest part about the whole experience is that then people have been telling me that like their grandma now eats grilled cheese or honey on her grilled cheese like every day. I'm like, that's weird.
Yeah.
Like, and then we were looking at the comment section on Facebook and someone shared a picture of their grilled cheese honey or honey grilled cheese, whatever you want to call it.
Oh, yeah. But you could really mix it up here a little bit with the types of cheese that you pick.
The bread.
Also the type of bread.
Exactly.
The type of honey.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
you have all sorts of options.
It's endless.
I'm gonna blow my kid's
Ryan
mind.
Seacrest said it's a good idea, so
This
Listen to
this
Ryan
will
Seacrest.
happen. So I'm
Good.
telling you, it will happen. If I'm gonna have a lot of takeaways from this episode. That one might be the longest living takeaway though that I have. It will
Good.
have
Good.
long legs.
good.
Well, Jason, that's the end. We
No.
made it. I know.
Wow, that goes by fast.
It's ridiculous. Every episode. I feel like a broken record in that I feel like I end every episode with talking about how fast it goes.
It's so
I
fast.
need to probably break
This
that
was
habit.
fun.
But
Next time we do this, I'll take you to the beehive.
Oh yeah.
I'll have you suit up. We'll go inside. Yeah, that'll be fun.
Jason, you don't want to get my mind working on this, okay? Because this is gonna happen. You're a junior.
Yeah. No, you have to experience it. I think
I will.
everyone has to go to, because a lot of people are scared of bees.
Yeah.
But if you go there once, suited up, I mean, that takes the fear away.
There's going to be people who are watching or listening to this that are going to hold me to this.
Good.
So
Good.
I'm going to put it on my list. We're going to make this happen.
Awesome.
So we're
I'm
going to
excited.
record it, and it's going to be great.
Cool.
Well, thank you for being on this episode of the Amazing Education Podcast. Everyone who is listening or watching, I guarantee that you have already loved this episode. So please tell other people about it. Get other people to watch this episode. Subscribe on Apple Podcasts and listen to all of our other episodes. So, Jason, thank you again.
Thank you.